那你开始了 ，OK。那今天呢，我们继续讲这个龙欽心髓前行引导文。龙欽心髓前行引导文呢是分外前行以及内前行两个部分。这两个部分里面呢，我们现在呢还在外前行里面。外前行里面呢，是分伤害人生难得、死亡无常、因果无错乱、轮回痛苦，就是解脱的利益，或者是解脱的殊胜，然后就一直上师这样。然后一直上师里面呢，也是分三个部分。第一个呢，就是如何观察上师。然后呢，第二个呢就是如果一直上师，第三个呢就是怎样最后是修学上师之意趣，就是分三个部分。今天呢，我们在中间一直上师的这个地方。
So today we continue to follow the teaching of the Longchen Nyingtik Ngondro, the words of a perfect teacher. And then it's divided into two sections, the outer preliminary and the inner preliminary. The outer preliminary consists of the best human being, the impermanence of all things, also the faults of the samsara, and also the rules of cause and effect. And in addition to the benefits of liberation, as well as how to follow a spiritual friend. The part of following spiritual friends also consists of three parts. The first part is how to observe a spiritual friend, or how to observe a teacher. And then the second part is how to, the first part is how to observe a spiritual teacher. And then the second part is how to follow a spiritual teacher. And then the third part is how to learn from the essence of a spiritual teacher. And right now we are still on the second part of the how to follow a spiritual teacher.
那中文的部分呢，现在在159页中间一直上师这地方。
The English translation is currently on page 143.
中间一直上师，中间一直上师的方法，如《华严经》云：善男子如应对自己生其病人想等有许多类似的意义说法，如遭受疾病折磨的病人，需医治善巧的名医；行于恐怖路途的旅客，必须医治勇敢的护送者。遭到冤敌、强盗、野兽等恐怖危害时，必须医治求危难之的友伴。法海中宝，去海中十洲取宝的商人，需医治商主。想到达河岸的船客需一直舵手，同样，要摆脱生死轮回的不为，必须一直具有救护力的善知识，如功德藏云，如病医客医护，不为医由伤医主，诸圣周者医舵手，为 生死护当一师。这里呢就是主要以华严经里面的一个这个寄颂为主的，在这里主要讲要依止上师的这个原因，为什么要依止上师这个方面。那首先呢，我们依止上师的时候呢，为什么要依止上师？我们要观察，在这个时候，我们首先要将自己看待成一个病人一样。我们是什么样的病人呢？我们是五毒烦恼的一个病人。那当这个五毒的烦恼这个病，我们不脱离这个病的之前呢，我们呢永远都没有办法脱离这个痛苦。这个痛苦是在哪里呢？这个痛苦呢就在轮回里面。所以呢，就是我们要把自己呢观想成一个病人。我们的病呢，就是什么呢？我们的病就是烦恼，五毒烦恼。然后呢，将上师呢是观为一个名医，就是非常，就是就是有方案的这样的一个名医。然后呢，将上师的讲的这个佛法妙法呢，就是观想的，就是要把它看待成这里就不是观想，这是直接要看待成这样。就是看待成医生教导我们怎么样服用药的这个方法，然后呢，将上师让我们修行的那个行为或是那个动作呢，就是直接把它看待成我们服用的这个药一样的，那就是要这样的方式呢，要看待成我们学习佛法依止上师。
Noble one, you should think of yourself as someone who is sick. So begin the series of the similes in the sutra arranged like a tree. Sick people put themselves in the care of a skillful doctor. Travelers on a dangerous path entrust themselves to a courageous escort, faced with dangers from enemies, robbers, wild beasts, and the like. People look to a companion for protection. Merchants heading for lands across the ocean entrust themselves to a captain. Wayfarers take the ferry to cross the river and trust themselves to the boatman. In the same way, to be protected from death, rebirth, and negative emotions, we must follow a teacher, a spiritual friend. As the sick man relies on his doctor, the traveler on his escort, the frightened man on his companion, merchants on their captain, and passengers on their ferryman, if birth, death, and negative emotion are the enemies you fear, entrust yourself to your teacher. So here we talk about the passage based on the sutra arranged like a tree. This talks about the reasons why we need to follow a spiritual teacher. The reason being that, we must see ourselves as an ill person, someone who is ill. And what is our illness? Our illness are the attachments of the 5 poisons that we have in ourselves. And if we do not cure these illness or the 5 poisons, then we're never able to leave suffering. And where is suffering? Suffering is in samsara. So we need to understand the fact that we need to see the teacher as our doctor, and the dharma that the teacher teaches us as the medicine that we need to take. And therefore, all the actions, the words, and all the expressions, everything of the teacher, we should see as the dharma and as well as the medicine for us to learn to take and then to be free from samsara.
王言呢，在这里呢，就说，有好几个比喻。如果是一个人遭受到病的话，他必须要依靠善巧的名医。然后一个旅途一直，要去的话，必须依止这个勇敢的护送，这些都没有什么，需要解释。大家这个就是这里就很清楚，这样一样的，我们就以这样的一个心态要依止上师的意思，就是这样。接下来呢，下面就是讲的，弟子依止上师应具有的条件，总遇生命危险以扶危，被上师善知识的意愿，精进，大楷。这个就是第一个条件，就是说弟子当依止了上师以后，之上我们讲呢首先是观察上师，之后要依止上师以后呢，那就是 算遇到了生命的危险，也不会违背上师的善知识的意愿或者上师的教言，这个是第一个。然后第二个呢，就是自相续不会因出现暂时的违缘而改变誓言，就是智慧己坚。这个第二个呢，就是将自己的相续当中出现一些暂时的违缘障碍然后这样的话就是自己的信心也丧失了，然后对上师的教言也就是不理不睬了。如果是这样的话，就是不好的。所以呢，不管是在自己的生命当中出现了什么样的违缘、什么样的障碍，都永远就是不改变自己对上师的承诺，或者是呢就是不改变对上师的信心，永远都是就是护持上师的这个誓言，这叫做智慧己坚的。
So from the previous passage, it's very self-explanatory based on the different examples and similes that's presented. So there's not that much explanation to talk about. And on to the next section. A courageous disciple, armed with the determination never to displease his teacher, even at the cost of his life, so stable-minded that he is never shaken by immediate circumstances, who serve his teacher without caring about his own health or survival, and obey his every command without sparing himself at all. So this is there's two parts in this. First part is to never disobey his teacher even at the cost of his life, and that is very important. And the second part is also never to abandon the oath and also the teaching, as well as your faith toward a teacher, even though there might be some obstacles that might appear temporarily in your life. So these two are very important.
这里呢就是要讲的两个，第一个是精进，第二个是智慧。第一个呢就是不管遇到了什么样的危险，都是不违背上师的这样的，这个就是精进的一个。第二个呢就是不改变自己的誓言，这就是智慧。
So there's two essence. The first thing is the faith, the determination, essentially, to never change your faith, to be completely faithful. And also the second part is the wisdom of never abandoning your oath, and as well as your when you determine to follow.
然后下面一个呢就是宁舍生命，也去承办上师吩咐之事，是承担上师。然后这个呢就是，比如说是上师要吩咐做一件事情的时候呢，就算是遇到了自己生命的危险或者困难，都不会违背上师的教言，然后去真正的去实行，就是上师所交付的这个事情，这样，这叫做承担上师。
And excuse me, the third one I probably mentioned before. The third part is that we serve his teacher without caring about his own health or survival, and obey his every command without sparing himself at all. That is the third part, and that is to essentially to always follow whatever teacher asks to do, whatever the teacher asks or requests the disciple to do, and we all, as a disciple, we always obey that command or that request, even though it's at the cost of our own life and our own benefit. We must follow the request of the teacher.
然后听从上师所说的任何教言，不顾惜自己，叫依教奉行。这里呢就是说，听从上师的教言，上师怎么样说，自己就怎么样去做。在这个过程当中呢，就是也不会就是说这样做了，也许会对我有一些不好或者是别人会怎么样看这样就是顾及一大堆自私的事情，这样的话是不好的。所以呢，就不顾惜自己的，然后呢就依教奉行，上师怎么样说就怎么样做。所以就以前在我们佛学院的时候，访雷岛有一个侍者，他是来自于嘉荣的地方。嘉荣的地方就是我们家乡那边的人，我们家乡那边的人呢，就是 很耿直的，而且很老实，做任何事情就是一就是一，二就是二，没有什么弯来弯去，没有什么拐来拐去的。就房有一个侍者，就是我们从我们家乡去的，他也不是什么堪布，也不是活佛，但是呢，他是个对房的信心是非常非常强。然后呢，他就在佛学院可能几十年，就是他是法王灵宝的侍者，侍者也就是说帮忙就是挑水啊、做饭等等的这样的事情，扫地等等这样。然后就有一次法王灵宝就在讲经的时候，在大众面前就是讲，说以前米胖仁波切的真正的贴心的侍者也是家朗的人，他就说家朗的人是非常可靠的，说很耿直的，你说一他就是一，你说二就是二，就是这样的。所以他说我现在这个侍者也是跟米胖仁波切的侍者一样，这也是非常棒的一个侍者。所以就是说上师说什么就是怎么样没有什么拐来拐去的，没有什么不掺杂什么很多自私的或者是自己的想法在里面。上师说什么就这样做，叫做依教奉行这样。
Again, the concept of following the spiritual teacher is very important. We must follow exactly what the Lama says, and do as he said without any selfish intent or thinking that it might not benefit myself or any other circumstances. So therefore, we must follow exactly what the Lama says. And as mentioned back in the old days in the Longchen Nyingtik Academy, His Holiness Rinpoche had a servant, and the servant's from Galang. And then this servant's very straightforward person. He's very straightforward. He does not take shortcuts and anything. He always follows exactly what His Holiness says, and everything he does is one by one. There's no other circumstances, and he has very strong faith for His Holiness. And what he does is he's a servant, and he takes care of the daily cleaning, making food, and etc. etc. And one day, His Holiness Rinpoche was teaching Dharma, and then he said that in the old days, Rinpoche had a servant, and he's also from Galang, right? Yeah. Galang. And he's saying that people from Galang are very straightforward. They do not take shortcuts, and they do exactly what is told. And so right now, my servant, this person, is also from Galang as well, and I believe he's same as the servant of Rinpoche. So therefore, it's very important that we need to do whatever the Lama says, and we need to follow exactly what he says without any compromises.
那个侍者的话就是 attendance。然后那个在米胖仁波切的那个侍者的时候呢，有一次呢就是米胖仁波切快要圆寂之前呢，我讲一个故事。米胖仁波切快要圆寂之前呢，就米胖仁波切写了一封信，就交给他的侍者，就说你可能呢就是过一阵子你会有一天你会觉得说你真的是快要不行了，也生病，你会觉得你快不行了，这个时候呢你就觉得就是已经快到了极点的时候呢，你就把这封信拿出来看，除此之外你不要看这个信。就米胖仁波切就是给他的这个侍者写了一封信，这个就是上师怎么说就是怎么样，他就从来没有打开过，就是放在那边。而有一天呢，他就生病了，米胖仁波切已经圆寂了。然后他生病了，就真的是病得很厉害，然后他就感觉上好像可能快要死了，再也没有办法，那他就马上想到上师给我的那封信，好像可能现在今天就是打开的时候了，他就打开了那封信。然后打开了那封信以后呢，他就里面上师就写了说，给在藏地的另外一个高僧大德写的信，他说这次我的这个弟子的这个语言呢，你要帮我解决，就是这样一句话。然后他就把这封信就拿到那个高僧大德那边去，拿到那边去的时候就那个高僧大德就帮他修了一些法，念了一些经，这样他的病就好了，就这样。 然后后来呢，有一天呢，就他是非常对释迦牟尼佛很有信心的。然后他有一次就是有一点点生病的时候呢，他就是在睡在自己的床上，然后就是在睡在床上的时候，就是半梦半醒的过程当中，他看见弥勒佛就就是这样亲自看见弥勒佛就从门走进来了，然后他就说，本来是他在生病躺在床上，他就说我一定要给上师做一个座位，他就马上要起来，想给上师就是准备一个比较舒适的坐垫呐，这样准备上。弥勒佛就说我不要起来，我就坐在这里。然后他一坐就坐在那个他侍者的枕头上，然后坐在枕头上的时候，他就仍然躺着，他就说我今天弥勒佛就跟他的侍者说我今天想写一些东西了，你有没有准备？有没有什么笔跟纸啊？因为以前弥勒佛切都是他写书啊或者佛藏全部都是就是突然要写他的这个侍者就常常会准备一些纸跟那个笔在旁边。但是呢，就弥勒佛圆寂以后，他就没有准备过这样。但是呢，那天突然很巧，正好他的顶头旁边就有一张这么厚一张纸，然后就是一支笔这样。然后他就说这里，他就马上就是把一张纸这样，就是一张一张的交给弥勒佛切，他就躺在这里，就坐在下面弥勒佛切，他就1秒钟都就是1两秒钟的时间就整篇就写完了，然后就寄给他，然后他又就这么厚一张纸全部写完了，就是那个速度就是快得不得了。他全部写完了以后，他就最后通常就是弥勒佛写了，就说是我们写完那个字的时候，就是说会写说弥勒佛切写在几月几日等等这样。他就一直看，他根本看不完，就写得快得不得了。然后最后一张纸没有了，他就看最后的名字，他就说加利多吉提巴，他就说红光生成就者的笔，就是这样。他就说奇怪，弥勒佛切一辈子从来都没有一个这个红光生成就的这样的名字，今天为什么写红光成就笔？然后他这样一看，弥勒佛切不见了。然后他就这个时候他就真的醒了，就是一张纸就是这样，就是弥勒佛切就这样，就算是他已经弥勒佛切已经圆寂了很久的一阵子，然后呢他就自己对上这个信心很强，所以弥勒佛切亲自来这里，他就写了这么厚一本书，这是大圆满的教学，就是弥勒佛切呢是以怎么说就是红光身的这样的来显示。然后呢，就是把这本书写下来。那本书后来都还就是一直传留下来，但是现在那个版本还有没有我就不知道，但是那个时候这样。
So here's a little story I want to tell you all. The story regarding the attendant of the Rinpoche. And before the Paramara of the Rinpoche, he called his attendant to his side and gave him a letter. And he told his servant that one day when you're about to pass away, that you have you feel this is it, this is the point that you will die, you need to open this letter. If not, don't even open the letter at all. And as a faithful servant, attendant, he followed the teaching of his Lama, and then therefore it goes on. After the passing of Rinpoche, one day he was really sick, and at the point that he felt like, this is the point I might die, he suddenly remembered the instruction of his Lama. So he found the letter and he opened it. And inside the letter is just one sentence, one expression, basically saying to this another enlightened person, another enlightened being, saying that as a request, saying that now my servant is facing the greatest obstacle, and you need to help my attendant to get rid of this obstacle. So therefore, the servant took the letter to this another this enlightened being, this great monk, and then of course this great monk practiced some kind of sadhana, and then therefore the attendant's illness suddenly got cured and the obstacle went away. Another incident was that when this attendant was sleeping, inside the tree, he was about half awake or half asleep. He saw Mipham Rinpoche walk in, and as a attendant, his habit was always, whenever he see the Lama, he would try to prepare a good seat for the Lama. But then Mipham Rinpoche said, "Oh, it's okay, I just sit somewhere here." And therefore, Mipham Rinpoche sat on the pillow of the servant. And then also, Mipham Rinpoche asked this attendant, "Hey, I need to write something. Do you have any paper and pen?" Normally, Mipham Rinpoche is known for writing various termos, teachings randomly. So as his attendant, they'll always have paper and pen ready for him to write all these teachings. But since then, as Mipham Rinpoche has passed away for a very long time, this attendant has no longer had the habit to prepare that. But it just so happened that he had the paper and pen right next to him, so he handed them to Mipham Rinpoche. And as Mipham Rinpoche would start writing, and at a very extremely unbelievable speed, within 1 to 2 seconds, Mipham Rinpoche has finished writing all the instructions onto the papers, all the teaching on the papers. And as the attendant looked through it, it was so vast. It was about this thick. It was so vast, and it was done in such a lightning speed that he could not finish it. But then he looked at the end of the teaching. He saw this expression.
Rainbow body went.
Oh, yeah. Basically at the end, or when we finish writing a teaching, the master will always document, who wrote this, etc. But then normally, Mipham Rinpoche would write his name. Yeah, Mipham Rinpoche would write that. But then this time, Mipham Rinpoche write the being who attended rainbow body instead of his name. And the attendant was confused, like, why is that? And then after that, the attendant woke up, and he realized that his teacher had came to him and then decided to pass down his teaching. And he still see that book, the amount of paper, that stack of paper that Mipham Rinpoche wrote in his dream after he woke up. It's still right next to him. And this teachings consists of all the Longchen teachings. And this is to see that that even though Mipham Rinpoche passes on, he still decided to come and then choose his attendant to pass on his teaching because of his faith as well.
对的，是这样的，所以呢，就是这些都是根据医治上师的时候，就是怎么样一心一意的医治的时候呢，就是有这样的。以前其实，在藏地的密宗的很多的传承上师里面，有很多的弟子，就是上师圆寂了之后，弟子一心一意的祈祷。刚刚这个是刚开始他是半梦半醒，后来他就是比较醒的状态了。那个参赞子，他就是一张纸这样递给Mipham Rinpoche，Mipham Rinpoche写完就是1-2秒就写完了一张纸，然后递给他，然后他又就像交给他新的一张纸，然后1-2秒就写完一张纸这样，一直这样一共有40-50页，这么多写完，这样以前的还有很多的高僧大德，就是这叫做Drimed的意思就是说圆寂之后的教言。圆寂之后的教育，虽然高僧大德已经圆寂了，但是呢，他因为弟子的强烈的信心，他再用洪光的身回到弟子的面前给他教言。
So this kind of example is very common in the independent religion throughout history, and that's the story that was mentioned earlier. To elaborate, the attendant was initially half asleep, half awakened, but then actually, as he gradually become more awakened, he remembered the process where he delivered paper to Mipham Rinpoche, and as Mipham Rinpoche finished the teaching within 1 to 2 seconds, and then he delivered paper again, and one by one. So it consists of almost 40 to 50 pages. And this example is very common in the Tibetan region throughout history. This is also known as the Dejing. Dejing. That's meaning the teaching of the parinirvana of the teacher. And this occurs due to the strong faith of all the servant, the attendants and disciples that they have, so that the master decide to manifest as rainbow body to come back and continue to pass on teaching. And the key thing is that because of the strong faith of the attendant.
这样的人，唯一对上师的尽信，必将获得解脱。如功德藏云：精进大楷汇集兼不习生命做成事的什么谨遵师命，不尽极，唯一尽信不误极唯一尽信得解脱。这就是上面我们讲的这些在这里说唯一以上就是这样的人，唯一对上师的尽心必将获解脱。这个就是有些人呢，就是只是就是对上师的信心坚强坚强的信心，然后就依教奉行，上师怎么样说就怎么样去做，在这里没有任何的疑问没有任何的这个怀疑的这样状况下的话，这样的话就是一个信心，他就可以得到解脱的意思是这样。
Continuing on the text, such a person will be liberated simply through his devotion to the teacher. Those who, well armored and steady full of reason, serve the teacher regardless of health or of life, following his instruction without sparing themselves, will be free on the strength of devotion alone. And this pertains to such that one person with strong faith to the teacher, meaning that as a disciple or attendant, if you have strong faith and confidence toward the teacher or Lama, and that the result of that will be liberation. If we have strong faith, confidence, without any doubt or questioning of the Lama and what he's teaching, and we follow his teachings, then for guarantee that we will be free from samsara and attain liberation.
密乘弟子应具备条件，将上师视为真佛，怎么说呢？具大信心，知上师善巧方便行为的密意，具大智慧。这里就说，作为一个密宗的弟子的话呢，必须要具足这个真正的这个信心呢。将上师视为真佛。当一个人，当你将自己的上师就是视为一个真佛的时候呢，这叫做具大信心。这个就是对为什么要将上师视为真佛，以前我讲过了。然后呢，要知道这个上师善巧方便的行为密意叫做具大智慧。有很多时候呢。尤其是在密宗里面的以前的有一些高僧大德，像就是疯狂的瑜伽士这类的上师的话，如果是弟子也好，或者是侍者也好，没有一个巨大的智慧的话，他是做不来侍者的，也做不来随从者的，因为他们根本不懂上师的行为或者上师的方便善巧在度化众生的密意，根本没有那个智慧看得到所以呢是根本做不来的所以呢，就是看到上师的时候呢，上师的行为也好，然后就是各式各样的方便的方法来度化众生的时候，必须要理解，要认知到这个也许是上师有特殊的密意，为了度化众生，自己呢就是要有这个智慧去看到，有这个智慧，要去认知这样的，要不然的话呢，我们。作为一个就是弟子的时候呢，有时候看到上师的行为也好，言语也好，就是各方面的时候，就是只要不符合自己的想象的那种方法就开始升起邪见的话，那就错了，那就是完全错误了所以呢要知道上师的善巧方便的行为以及密意这样，这如果是知道这样的，叫做具足大智慧这样。
To follow the teacher, you should have so much confidence in him that you perceive him as a real Buddha. You should have such discrimination and knowledge of the teaching that you recognize the wisdom underlying his skillful action and grasp whatever he teaches you. So there's first two aspects that what we should be as disciple or followers of the sacred Mahayana. The first is to view our teacher or our Lama as real Buddha, and that is the strongest faith, the big faith that we have. And why we should do that, why we should view our Lama as a real Buddha, I've mentioned that before previously. The second one is to understand that all the actions and method of the Lama, you should able to perceive them as some kind of skillful method or means to liberate all sentient beings. As an attendant or disciple, if we don't have that kind of wisdom to understand that everything that the Lama does or says, there's some kind of meaning behind it, there's wisdom and then purpose to liberate beings. Therefore, he would make such actions or words. And if we don't understand that, it's hard to be attendant or disciple of that teacher. And so therefore we need to understand that everything the Lama does, all the skillful meaning, the methods, it is pertaining to a certain wisdom and the meaning of liberating all sentient beings, and that is the great wisdom.
那这个呢，如果是真正的能够认知到上师的善巧方便的行为的话，那真是大智慧。如果是就算是不认知到的就想一定上师这样做是一定有它的意义存在，一定有什么别的就是说方便的方法存在，就是这样具足信心的话，也是可以的就是虽然自己完全不知道意义是什么，但是呢就是完完全全有信心的就是去想一定上师这样有意义的，我就跟着上师怎么说怎么去做这样去想的话呢，这样也是可以的。这样的话，以前有很多的历史的记载，历史的记载里面呢，有很多的高僧大德们的就是弟子有些弟子呢对上师的信心非常的强，所以呢，上师做任何的行为，怎么样做都是他都是以上师的教养为主去做的时候呢，那些上师的度化众生、弘扬佛法的事业也是会变得非常广大，然后呢，利益众生的也是利益非常多，一切都非常顺利，一切缘起也是没有破，缘起是非常顺利，这样的也有很多。然后也有一些部分的就是弟子或随从呢，就是自己的信心不够，没有智慧的时候呢，看到上师的一些作为行为的时候，就是自己没有办法去理解，然后呢就是自己去做一些自己想象的事情，然后呢就破了很多的这个缘起，然后呢最后呢就是上师的缘起也破了，弘法事业上也升起障碍，然后自己也造很多的业力，这样的也有所以呢这些都是全部都是根据一个上师的随从者的话呢，是对上师的信心，然后自己也有智慧这样的像我们可以看到的就是高僧大德里面呢，很多的高僧大德的侍者里面然后就是随从的弟子，这是非常重要的。通常我们佛学院的法王如意宝的随从的弟子的话，法王如意宝是通常的是会有当他的侍者的都是基本上都是要不然的话就是像我今天刚刚之前讲的像嘉荣的那位就是喇嘛一样的，非常信心很强的，然后呢他就是上师怎么样做他没有什么二话这样的。要不然的话呢，真正的懂得这些经论第三藏经典的然后呢就是知道怎么样用理论上知道怎么样要跟随上师的。以前上师出门法王如意宝的贴身的就是随从者，就是索达吉康布啦、四重罗鲁康波，就是我们佛学院的是在佛学院的是最有智慧的，然后呢就是康波们活佛们是这样的。所以呢，就是这样的话，对上师的弘法利生的事业上也是非常有帮助的，因为他们知道该怎么样扶持，他们知道该怎么做，这样，这就是智慧这样。第一个就是信心和智慧这两个是很重要的。那除此之外的话，也有一些高僧大德，就我名字我就不提了，但是他本人的高僧大德的话是非常非常的修行层次也很高的高僧大德，但是呢。因为身边的侍者或是随从 一个是可能不具备那样的信心，另外一个呢也不具备那样的智慧，所以呢那些高僧大德的一生的弘法利生也没有那么广大的也有，所以呢就这些都是我们在佛经里面怎么讲，我们去 follow 这个是最重要的。有时候大家尤其是在西方国家的话，或者是其他的地方，有些人就是曾经有这样讲说藏传佛教常常要讲说一直上师要全部奉行上师，就是为了他们自私嘛。有人这样说，其实这样就是一个邪见，这个根本不是说藏传佛教的上师们所说的，而是这是真正的一个一直上师的话是必须要这样的方式一直是以前的传承的上师以前的佛陀这样传下来的，而不是这是后来的一个藏传佛教的上师们这个注定的一个条款不是这样的所以呢这个就是一些细节上的问题的话，我们大家都要思考，然后要真正的要记住在自己心里边。
没有太多。
没关系，不请便。So if one can truly understand the wisdom of the Lama behind all his actions and all his words and everything that he does, then it is big wisdom. It's great wisdom. But even though if you cannot fully understand or grasp the wisdom behind the actions or the meaning of that time, as long as you know, oh, there's a meaning behind these actions. There's something that there's a reason why the Lama does this or say that. So I need to follow that. I should not have wrong view toward that, and that's okay too. And that's as long as, and that will be perfectly fun as well. Throughout history, there are many realized masters whose attendants or disciples, because of their great wisdom or their strong faith, that therefore the master's activity can be very successful and widespread to help all the sentient beings. And in addition, there will be many of the great auspicious very signs of good promising. It's okay. So there's very many of the auspicious signs that can mean great benefits for others have not been destroyed, have not been hindered as well because of the strong faith of the wisdom of these attendants and servants. And of course, there are many. There are also some servants or disciples and attendants of even though the master is highly realized, because they do not follow the teachings of the master, or they have their own explanation, their self-intention or wrong view towards the actions of or the words of the highly legal master without realizing there's some meaning behind it. Then therefore, sometimes the activity of that master may be deteriorating or may not be as well widespread as others. In Longchen Buddhist Academy, His Holiness Rinpoche, many of his attendants or disciples are either to be very strong faith, such as the one example we talked about earlier, or this disciple who understand, who have the big wisdom that was mentioned, as mentioned, that they understand exactly the purpose or the meanings of the wisdom behind the actions and words of His Holiness, and therefore, such as realized masters, such as different Khenpos in the academy, such as Khenpo Sodangi and also Khenpo Ngondro Rinpoche. They know exactly what to do at what time because they understand, they have the wisdom, they fully able to grasp the wisdom of His Holiness. So these two parts, first have faith and the second have wisdom. And in addition, there's also a lot of other realized master that I forgot his name, that his attendants or a disciple, because of their lack of faith or a lack of wisdom, therefore that realized master's activity is not as successful and that's not as well spread to the very many more beings. So therefore, it is important to follow exactly what the sutra says, and that's been passed on from the Buddha. And there has been many many statements being made or many claims from the Western world saying that Tibetan Buddhism emphasizes so much on following the Lama, and it is for selfish intent of the Lama, and that is not true. And that's basically almost a wrong view, because to follow a spiritual teacher completely with faith and wisdom, this is a teaching that's been passed down since the time of the Buddha, and it's very well documented in the sutra as well. So such claim by someone else that this kind of false claim is not true. So therefore, it is very extremely important to follow the spiritual teacher with faith and understanding the wisdom of all the things that the Lama does.
在那个 Western 不是没有那里吗？就有些。
Not many. Few of the people in the Western world have this false impression.
对，我有听说过他们在这样说了。所以呢，如果是这样的话呢，就不符合，也不具备修行密法的根基，就是这样的话，能够受持上师所宣讲的一切正法，叫做广闻博学，那就是上师所讲的一切，这个正法大家都能够受持，然后能够接受，能够懂的话，这叫做广闻博学。然后慈爱那些痛苦无有依附的众生，叫做具大悲心。恭敬上师所传授的律义和300一戒，叫做境界。身语意精进调柔，叫做3门调柔。然后呢，在这里呢，3门调柔，这一上呢，主要这些都是弟子需要具备的条件。然后这里说身语意精进调柔3门调柔，我们通常呢就是有一句话，就是说 to be to stop 日正的吧，意思就是说，如果是常常闻思的人的话，一定需要显出一些就是在行为上的一个温柔温和。然后这个常常在听我们佛法，但是行为上跟以前完全没有任何改变的话，意思就是说你听的东西没有听进去。就是说，我们常常闻思的时候呢，我们必须要在行为上要有一些改变。然后呢，就是闻到，就是如果是修的时候呢，就要看我们的烦恼有没有变小，我们粗重的烦恼有没有变成比较细一点点，或者少一点点。这个呢就是我们修的功德。所以呢，闻思和修这3个都是在我们的身口意上面要有一些表现。表现并不是说是我们表现给别人看，而是自然而然的。因为常常闻思的关系呢，自己的讲话的方式、行为各方面都跟以前有些不一样了。然后呢，因为我们实修的关系呢，我们内心的那些烦恼、粗重的烦恼呢，没有像以前那么粗重了，这叫做3门调柔。
You should feel immense love, compassion for all those who are suffering with no one to protect them. You should respect the vows and samaya that your teacher has told you to keep, and should be peaceful and control in all your deeds, words, and thoughts. And in particular, the last one of the English translation, that you should be peaceful and control in all your deeds, words, and thoughts. These are the 3 aspects: our actions, words, and thoughts. And as we study, contemplate, and practice Dharma, when we study our deeds, we should be, whatever we study, that should be reflected through our actions. And therefore, as we continue to study Dharma, our actions should be mild, become more mild and smooth and less stringent. And as we practice, we need to see if our attachment has decreased as well. And this is not for others to see, but it's something that we need to analyze within ourselves. So therefore, if the attachment does decrease, if our actions do become more mild, then that means we have incorporated the teaching into ourselves. If not, then we still have not taken Buddha Dharma closely to ourselves.
然后呢，就是内心能容纳上师及道友的一切行为，这叫做宽宏大量。 所拥有的一切皆供养上师，叫慷慨大方。内心很少出现不清净的分别恶念，具有净相。然后呢，如果造了恶业，立即想到诸圣者，至少我的恶业，我一定会羞辱我的，就是具惭愧心。这一章呢，就是主要是讲的弟子的一些条件。我们在一个不管在道场也好，在寺庙上也好，做这样的时候呢，就是在自己的心里呢，能够容纳，或者是能够就是说可以容纳上师及一切道友的行为，以及这个是非常重要的。如果是这样的话，我们就是在一个道场也好，一个寺庙里面也好，团体或者是对金刚道友之间的这些争分就不会出现了。这个是需要一个宽宏大量的人这样。所拥有的一切皆供养上师，这叫做慷慨大方。我们就所说的就是自己这世俗的这些财物就不用说了。我们说真正的佛法里面这个密乘的里面讲里面，自己的身口意都要供养上师，那这个就其他的财物就更不用说了，这叫做慷慨大方。然后呢，自己的内心呢就很少出现一些不清净的分别恶念，这叫做具有净相。然后呢，每一次如果是自己所造的一些不管是别人，就算是没有人看得到的，自己一定要想到，就说我一切诸佛菩萨这看到我的，所以呢，就是自己内心就是居然自己就有这个具有惭愧心的，这样的话呢，这就是应该要具足的条件，就一直上师的时候应该要具足的条件就是这些的。
Your outlook should be so broad that you can accept whatever your teacher and spiritual companions may do. You should be so generous that you can give the teacher whatever you possess. Your perception of everything should be pure, not always critical and tainted. You should restrain yourself from doing anything harmful or negative for fear of displeasing him. So the first part, your outlook should be so broad you can accept whatever your teacher and spiritual companion they do. This is very important because as a Sangha, we have, if we're able to do that, then within the Sangha, our Dharma brothers and sisters, as well as Lama, when we interact with them, there will be no arguments, everything will be under a very cooperative manner, and that's very good for all of us. The second part that to give whatever teacher you possess, this is not just about monetary, the mundane word like money or possession, but as a disciple of the sacred Mantrayana, you should be able to offer your body, speech, and mind to the Lama as well. So essentially that incorporates everything you possess. And another thing is that your perception of everything should be pure, not always critical and tainted, and that's very important to make sure that that's something you need to be aware of. And also you need to restrain yourself from doing anything harmful or negative for fear of displeasing him. That we should be aware that every time we do something negative or harmful, that we should know that our teacher knows, and then we need to have kind of like self-awareness of this, shame that, oh, my teacher will know.
应当具足以上条件来依止上师，功德藏云：具信慧闻大悲心，恭敬戒律三门条，宽宏慷慨净相慧。然后呢，就是此外弟子的所作所为，应时时刻刻随顺上师的心意，不要做违背上师的意愿之事。所以呢，在这里讲的就是说弟子所作所为是不能违背上师的心意，就时时刻刻要就是依照上师的教言去做的意思。无论上师如何严厉苛责、制裁，既不愤怒 也不怨恨，犹如驯服之良马。这就说，就算是上司骂你或是教训你这样的话，也不能就是生气，然后呢，就要这个就好像如驯服的这良马一样这样。所以我刚好想讲一个故事，就是我们在藏地的话是上司骂的时候的话，不说是生气，吓都吓死了。我们就是会马上就要想尽办法，想找机会到上司面前去忏悔。就生气就 forget it， 你生气算什么？我们藏地是这样，大部分我想80%、90%都是这样。就是我们在佛学院，可能99%都是这样。如果是我们做了一些什么事情，上司不高兴，然后上司骂的时候，那就我们自己吓都吓死了。然后就是赶快想尽办法到上司面前去忏悔。这样，有一次佛学院佛学院的最大的管家有一天，我忘记了是什么事情，就帮瑞宝在那个讲课的大厅里边，就是讲课完了以后，就是训他了一顿。他吓得不得了。第二天他就把他所有的财产只剩下他自己身上穿的一件衣服，第二天就是找机会就全部供养给帮瑞宝，然后去忏悔。是这样，在藏地是这样，大家都因为大家都是知道就是一切是怎么样的。所以是这样。像我的话，小时候我伯父就是我伯父也是我的上司嘛。有时候就是有点调皮嘛，就是被骂都会吓得不得了，然后就赶快去忏悔。这样，所以在这里讲的主要就是这样。当然生气就当然就想都不要想了，就是要去忏悔的意思。房如果是不会打，但是边洞房是会打的。边洞房会打的，边洞房它在印度能做这么粗的棍子。那个寺庙里面的孟回就做错什么事情，他就把棍子打到他力气很大，对，会打的，然后就吓得不得了。但是呢，被上司们骂，上司们打的时候会牵有很多的自己的业障，消很多的障碍。以前在那个边洞房的一个寺庙里面的一个monk，他好像曾经是有一个病有一个什么肝或者肾或者什么样，总之比较这个身体有问题的一个。但是有一次他做错了什么事情，就边洞房就把他叫过来，就跪在前面，还有去另外一个使者把棍子拿过来就打得头破血流的，然后就是可能睡了1个礼拜这样，打得很严重。后来他的那些伤口全好了，后来他的病
Have great faith, discrimination, knowledge, and compassion. Respect the vows and samaya. Control body, speech, and mind. Be broad-minded and generous. Have pure vision and a sense of self-restraint. The sutra, arranged like a tree, and other texts also tell us that when following a teacher, we should be like the perfect horse, always acting according to the teacher's wish in every situation, skillfully avoiding anything that would displease him, and never getting angry or resentful even when he reprimands us severely. And this part pertains to, again, we need to follow our spiritual teacher without any doubt or question, with strong faith. And there's the story I like to share. In Tibet, when the teacher reprimands or criticizes disciples, all the disciples will be very severely horrified and scared. And they will also do whatever they can, by all means, to confess in front of the Lama. And I would say about 80 to 90% of all the disciples in Tibet would be like that. In Longchen Buddhist Academy, almost about 99% all the students would try to confess in front of Lama if something happens. One time in the Buddhist Academy, one of the biggest manager of the Buddhist Academy was reprimanded by His Holiness Longchen Nyingtik Ngondro Rinpoche after teaching for a certain reason I don't remember, and he was very scared and horrified that the second day he decided to get all his offering and everything that he possessed except the only coat he wore on himself at that time, all of those things to His Holiness as a way of confession. And in addition, when I was little, my uncle, who's also my Lama, when I would be, as a kid, I would be sometimes I would just be horse playing around sometimes, and then if I get reprimanded by my uncle, I'll be very scared and try to confess in front of him. And in addition, His Holiness Drimed Rinpoche does not hit the disciples, but His Holiness Longchen Rinpoche does. And he would grab a stick, and he's a very strong force person, and he will literally hit you very hard. And so whenever there's a disciple under him or a student under him that this is something wrong, he will basically hit him with a stick. But being hit by or reprimanded or punished by a Lama can dispel many obstacles and difficulties in your path to study. And there's another one time there's a disciple under the Longchen Rinpoche that he has some kind of liver problem or some kind of kidney pancreas problem. One time he made a mistake, and His Holiness Longchen Rinpoche criticized him and also hit him with a stick very hard that his head started to bleed, and it was very severe injury. And that disciple slept for about a week, and I think after that all his liver problem and pancreas got cured. And so that.
所以呢，这些都是弟子一直要有信心，然后呢，这样的话他是这样的，以前的高僧大德们是这样的，弟子们也是这样，现在就不知道了。然后呢，此外弟子的所作所为，这个一样啊，无论上师如何言，这一样。因上师的指派而来往奔波，也不生厌烦，犹如传发，能够承受上师所吩咐的一切好坏之事，犹如桥梁，能够忍受一切艰难、困苦、寒冷、炎热，犹如铁匠的铁针。听从上师的一切教言，犹如奴仆，断除我慢，长处卑微，犹如扫帚，舍弃骄慢，恭敬，诸众，犹如断脚的羚牛。此乃华严经等佛经中所说的依止上师的方法，如功德藏云，疾护上师具善巧，立志不嗔如梁具，来去不厌如传发，犹如桥梁成弦列，犹如铁针忍寒热，依教奉行如中仆，断出我慢如扫帚，舍傲慢如断脚牛。其经所说，依师法这样，这一上的话就是要断出什么之类的已经讲了。那现在这里面。
Like a boat, we should never tire of going back and forth to take message or to do other service for him. Like a bridge, there should be nothing that we cannot bear, however unpleasant or unpleasant the task he asks us to do. Like a smith anvil, we should endure heat, cold, and all other difficulties. Like a servant, we should obey his every command. Like a sweeper, we should never be proud but to take the lowest position. Like a bull with the broken horns, we should abandon arrogance and respect everyone. Be skilled in the never displeasing teacher, and never resent his rebukes like the perfect horse. Never be tired of coming and going like a boat. Bear whatever comes, good or bad, like a bridge. Endure heat, cold, and whatever else like an anvil. Obey his every order like a servant. Cast out all pride like a sweeper, and be free of arrogance like a bull with broken horn. This, the Pitaka says, is how to follow the teacher. And that summarizes exactly what we need to do. It's self-explanatory.
以3种成代是不是？成事，然后成事领上师欢喜以3种的成事呢来领上师要生欢喜这样。上等呢是什么呢？上等是为修行做供养。然后呢，就是普通苦行及精进的方式而修持上师所传的一切正法，这个就是上等。我们所说的上等就是修行的供养，这是上等。为什么这个是上等呢？因为呢，我们通常具有法相的一些上师的话，他是真正的希望弟子能够脱离轮回的痛苦，真正的希望弟子能够成就。这是最大的希望，所以呢，这个希望是要从何而来呢？那就是要弟子要真正的服从上师的言教，然后呢去真正的实修，这样真正的实修以后呢，弟子就有这个实修的这个正果，这样的话呢，就是上师是最喜欢的，因为他的目的，他要传法弘法，最终的最主要的目的何在呢？目的就是这个，所以这个目的达成了。所以呢，这个就是上等供养的原因是这样，而不是说一个上师就是为了要其他的原因，这一个具象的上师的话，根本不会有说其他的原因来弘扬佛法，来讲法传法，没有的，就唯一的一个理由就是为了自己的随从能够修行正法，能够脱离轮回的痛苦，最后能够证悟就是佛德或者菩萨的果位，这个就是最大的心愿。所以呢，这个叫做最上等的这个供养，以这样的方式能够让上师欢喜的话，这是上等的，就让领上师欢喜这件事情，对不对？
There are 3 ways to please the teacher and serve him. The best way is known as the offering of practice, and consists of putting whatever he teaches into practice with determination, disregarding all hardship. And this is the best way of offering the teacher, because a true realized master, the only thing that he really wants is all his disciples and his followers to be free from samsara and to attain liberation. So to accomplish this goal, the only way is for all his followers to follow the teachings and practices. So therefore, this is what the master wants and his goal, and his or her own goal to teach Dharma. So therefore, it is as you practice diligently and follow all the teachings and the words of the teacher, this is considered as the best offering, because that will basically serve the main goal of the highly realized master.
然后呢，中等即生于意，成事自己的生于意，精心侍奉上师，为上师服务。那中等的是什么呢？中等就是自己的身口意来就是侍奉上师，为上师服务我们就是身口意怎么样为上师服务呢？我们就是比如说是口头上就是常常讲上师的功德然后呢就是用尊敬的语言称呼上师然后这样然后呢就是身首先我们讲的是身刚刚是讲的是语然后呢就是身是怎么样呢？身的话呢就是我们在行为上能够服务为上师做的任何的服务用身体可以做的，比如说是帮上师 在藏地的话，我们需要帮冬天下雪的话，就是帮上师的门前去扫雪扫路打扫房间洗衣服做饭买东西等等的，这些都是我们身体可以做的。为上师的担水等等的，劈柴等等等等这样的这一类的事情，就是身体的可以所做的。身口意的话，就是常常就是打自内心的恭敬上师这样。那这些是什么呢？这些的话，一方面呢就是一个具象的上师的话，他所作所为全部都是为了弘扬佛法、利益众生而在做，就算是吃饭睡觉也是为了利益众生是这样的。所以呢，就是这些一切的就是为上师服务的话，这也是自己累积资粮的，唯一就是自己累积资粮、累积福报的一种方法这样。
The middle way is known as service with body, speech, and involves serving him and do whatever he needs you to do, whether physically, verbally, or mentally. And this is the middle way. And in terms of the body, first we talk about essentially being service to the Lama, being able to do things for him, and many things such as in Tibet, such as sweeping snows in front of the Lama's house, clean the room, washing clothes, buy things, make food, etc. These are all what we can use to do our body, make offering to the Lama, that we help the Lama to do all these daily activities, the physical activity that needs to be done. And why is that as an offering? Because everything that the Lama does, including eating, sleeping, everything he does physically, these all the purpose of these things is aimed to liberate all sentient beings. So as we help the Lama perform all these physical deeds, all these activities, we are also accumulating merits ourselves, and also as the offering of the body to the Lama.
在这里呢，就是我们通常说，是恭敬身语意的恭敬这样。那在这里的话呢，就是我提到一个就是比如说是语言上的恭敬这样。比如说像很久以前，几年前，就是我们刚开始的话呢，我们在这边的弟子们，大家都是我就是叫我是喇嘛智美这样，我习惯。后来呢，我们这边的有些弟子说，可不可以叫我仁波切，喇嘛智美仁波切？那当时呢，我是没有答应叫我仁波切，因为我没有那样的功德，我是一个非常反腐的人。所以呢，我就说不要叫我仁波切。那后来过了2年的时候，我考虑了以后呢，我就想，如果是一个随从我的一个弟子对我有信心，他要叫我仁波切，是他累积资粮，所以呢，我不应该阻止别人就是累积资粮的这个机会所以呢，就后来我就说，你们要叫也可以，就是这样所以呢，这个就是比如说我们对一个上师的恭敬。就不用讲了，就是平时一般的一个人，普通的人，我们对他恭敬，或是对一般的人一个尊敬，这样我们都能够累积资粮的话，那更何况就是说对自己的上师或者父母的恭敬，那是更会累积资粮的。所以因为这样呢，我就也没有就说不能这样叫我。其实这样叫我的话呢，我也是在外面有些人说我的话。不是我们中心的人了，就是在外面的，别的地方的一些人就说这么年轻叫他仁波切不符合你不应该要叫别人叫你这样。有人这样跟我讲过，但是我不在乎这些，这是没有关系。我该怎么样做，我知道怎么做。我的弟子对我有信心，他要尊敬我，我不可能阻止这个。所以呢，我没有说任何的话。虽然我要面临这些，但是呢，我还是接受的原因也是，我的一个随从弟子对我有信心，要这样叫我，我还是应该接受这样的。所以呢，这就是因为就是在佛经里面这样讲就说恭敬上师对上师的这些尊称是有功德的， 有质量的，所以我就想了2年，最后我就是决定说 OK，原因是这样来的，但是并不是说是我真正是个仁波切，我有具足那样的条件，我有那么大的功德，不是这样。
In terms of the speech, to be very polite in speech, such as referring to our teacher or Lama with politeness and respectful means. For example, back in the days when this center first started, many of my students and followed people would call me Lama Drimed. And then after some years, some of my student disciples began to request me that if they can refer to me as Rinpoche. But initially I first refused. However, after 2 years, I feel that if my disciple or my follower has such strong confidence in me and they wish to refer to me as Rinpoche, then it's okay because it is the way for them to accumulate merits and for them to accumulate merit for liberation. There may be some people outside, not in our center, but some people that I've encountered. Some people may say, oh, I'm someone who's at a younger age, I shouldn't be referred as Rinpoche by others. But this is something I don't really care because I know exactly what to do. Because the purpose for me to allow my followers to call me Rinpoche is for them to accumulate merits. And I know that I myself, I don't think I possess such merit or virtue as Rinpoche, but if it allows my disciples to accumulate merits by referring to me as Rinpoche with polite and respectful, then it is okay. So then that's what I wish.
所以呢，在这里是主要就是根据这些经典的内容，以前的高僧大德们怎么讲的这样的内容呢，就是这样的所以呢，我今天这样讲不一定说你们全部都一定要这样称呼，完全不是这样的。当你们自己内心真正的有信心，想这样尊称是可以，只是这样而已，并不是说你们一定要这样叫我，不是这样这个我们要弄清楚的，要不然的话说他老妈这边说要叫他仁波切，这样就惨了。这样的话，你们也没有什么功德嘛，我也没有什么功德。就是根据自己的信心，自己这样的话就这样。
So to refer to one's Lama with respect and politeness, such as referring to the title Rinpoche, this is something that's been passed down from the Buddha and something being recorded in the sutra. So this is to make it clear that I'm not here to tell everyone to, from now on, call me Rinpoche. That is not what I meant. You can refer to me however as you find with your confidence and your faith towards me. And so this is not to say, oh, Lama Chume request everyone to call him Rinpoche from now on. That is not the case.
然后呢，这里这是中等，就是我们说的身口意的这个功德就是下等呢，就是为财物的供养，以慷慨供养、饮食、受用等方式令上师欢喜喜欢。如功德藏云：若有财物供上师，身与恭敬诚事，如何使一切亦不为三喜之中修最胜这样所以呢，就是下等的供养呢，就是财物的供养，这里所讲的是财物的供养为什么这里说财物是下等，其他2个是上等呢因为第一个那个呢，就是上师最终的、最需要的，或者是最期待的就是那个第一个弟子能够真正的修入正法，所以呢，这是上等供养。然后中等供养是身语意，那这就是我们作为一个人来说，我们的身体，我们身语意、身口意是对我们来说是最重要的我们的身口意是最重要的。我们除了我们的身口意之外的话，其他的事情都是副的那身体对我们来说是最重要的，所以我们真正的能够用自己的身口意去扶持上师的话，这个就是也是累积资粮，累积资粮，这个功德很大的，这就所以呢就是中等。然后为什么财物是下等呢这是根据自己，我们 财物跟我们的身体来比的话，我们喜欢我们的身体，对不对？我们比较执着我们的身口意然后之后才是财物，所以呢，就是财物是下品的供养，这样以这3种的来供养呢，让上师生这个欢喜这样来扶持上师这样。
The lowest way is by material offerings, which means to please your teacher by giving them material goods, food, money, and so forth. To offer what wealth you may have to the fourth jewel, to honor and serve them with body and speech. Now one of these actions will ever be wasted, but out of the 3 ways to please them, practice this best. And here why we say, the reason why we say offering of wealth is the lowest method of offering is because as a realized teacher, the one thing that he wishes the most, that he expects most, is the first one, which is offering of Dharma as his wish for all beings to attain liberation. And the second one is the mind, body, and speech. Body, speech, and mind, because that is the most important thing, that the things that are considered for us. Our body, speech, and mind are very important. So as we make that offering, that will allow us to accumulate strong merits. And the third one, the lowest one that's mentioned, offering wealth, compared to our body, speech, and mind, our body, speech, and mind is more important to us than the wealth. Therefore, offering wealth is the lowest mean of offering to the Lama. So this is the third way, the lowest way of offering. And from these 3 ways, we make offering to Lama, and then for us to accumulate merits.
这样的，所以呢，在这里的话，以上就是以3习来真正的就是扶持上师、供养上师，然后呢就是来医治上师这些以上的这些的话全部都是以前的像那个高僧大德们他们怎么样医治上师的方式。这也是佛所讲的。我们所说的有很多现在的人觉得这是唯一就是藏传佛教才有的，其实不是，在显宗经典里面也有就说讲要怎么样医治上师这个方式也有讲到。刚刚就是我们有个华严经里面有讲到嘛，华严经里面这些方式，所以呢就是显宗跟密宗经典2个里面都需要，比如说医治上师是需要这样医治上师的。所以呢，当这样医治上师的时候呢，那我们就是真正的能够，就是听从上师的教言这样的医治的方式呢，自己是能够得到很大的这个功德，也累积很多的这个资粮，然后呢，最后呢，自己能够修成这个正果所以呢，就是医治上师的方式呢，也是非常重要的尤其是现在的这个。社会现在的这个社会的医治上师的方式是非常非常需要的，因为现在社会里面的大家的对这个上师跟弟子之间的关系，就是连老师跟学生的关系这样的不如的也很多，所以这样的话呢，可能只会学一点点东西而已。你要想依靠这样来成就呢，就是很难的，是非常难的。所以呢，我们医治上师的方式也是应该要按照经典里面怎么讲，我们怎么去做不要在这个经典里面讲的之外做一些自己的想法，然后就说现在的事要跟着现在的时代走了。外面的人有人这样讲说现在的时代不一样说要跟时代走这样。我们这个什么这个修行佛法，这个不是说是跟现代时代走，不是这样的。那修行那个是以前高僧大德们怎么样修的，我们要这样去修；以前我们要怎么样发心的，我们也要这样去发心。以前的高僧大德们是怎么样去医治上师的，我们要这样去医治上师，要不然的话我们没有办法成就的。如果是现在有另外一个佛出现了，然后就说现在的众生是这样度化的，所以把这些条款全部改的话，那就是另外一回事。但是现在还没有所以呢，我们必须依照这个释迦牟尼佛的教法以前怎么传下来的，然后以前的高僧大德们是怎么做的， 怎样医治上师的，然后呢，弟子需要具备什么样的条件，我们在修行过程当中要怎么样做，这些全部都要依照上师，传承上师们的这样去做，这样的话呢，那就是在我们的这个修行的过程当中，遇到的任何的违缘障碍的时候，我们都是会变成一个顺缘，为什么呢？因为这些遇到的这个违缘也好，障碍也好，这些都是会变成遣除我们的业障的一种因素，有时候上师们、高僧大德们就是骂弟子啦，或者是就是这样的，也是有很多原因的。有时候是真正你做错了事情，然后为了要改而骂；有时是为了你可能有一个很大的违缘障碍，所以呢，上师必须以这样的方式来调节或者来转换，把你那个一生过你的那些违缘和障碍，是有很多很多的因素的。但是呢，这些都是我们弟子没有信心的时候呢，我们就以为不是，然后我又没有做错事情，为什么这样骂我？然后心里一大堆的怨恨，这样的时候呢，就一切事情都毁了，所以呢，我们必须要具有信心，自己做错事情被骂呢，就是理所当然。上师因为要改变你做错的事情，希望你做得更好，所以而骂，这就是理所当然。但是不是这样的，有时候会被骂的事情也有，我自己有过很多这样的经验。我自己没有做错事情被骂的时候也有，但是呢，就是这样的时候都是自己心里想，我这样上师讲是一定有它的意义，一定就算是现在我没有做错事情，可能我上一辈子或者什么时候做错的事情，所以呢这样骂我，就是这样能够去想的时候呢，那就一切都是会变成一个真正的在佛经里面讲的这样的医治方式、上师的方法。
So this is how we follow spiritual teachers through proper ways of following spiritual teachers and proper ways of making offering. This is what we should follow and adhere to as disciples and followers. These methods, all these ways of following and making offerings of spiritual teacher, these have been passed down by the Buddha, the teaching of the Buddha. Some people may say this may be only limited to Tibetan Buddhism or Vajrayana, but that is not true. As we mentioned from these teachings also came from sutras, such as sutras arranged like a tree. That sutras came from in the overall Mahayana as lineage and tradition as well. So by following teachers and by following exactly following teachers, which is attending to the teacher, making offering to the teacher, by following exactly how we should do has been passed down by the realized masters, we can accumulate great merits and therefore attain liberation. So therefore, it's important that we do not try to make changes out of our own self-intention or our own self. So it's important to follow exactly how it is been done by the masters of that in the past history. Right now, in current society, there may be many incorrect ways or methods of following teachers. But therefore, we need to follow exactly what the Buddha taught us on how to follow a spiritual teacher. And that does not change within time because that's the teaching that's been passed down. And these teachings should not be changed just because we are in a different age, at the age of time. So again, we need to emphasize on it. It's important that we need to follow exactly how the masters have been following their teachers, and therefore we should do exactly the same. Unless there's another Buddha that appeared within our time, such as Buddha Shakyamuni, and say otherwise, then we follow otherwise. But if not, we should always follow the teaching of the Shakyamuni Buddha. Then therefore that is how it will work. Therefore, if we're able to follow our teachers correctly and through all the right methods, then all the obstacles that we encounter in our life, they will no longer be obstacles, but also means for us to enhance our own wisdom and attain liberations. So therefore, a lot of times, as students or disciples, they get reprimanded by their teachers. A lot of times because dudes want that you really made some mistakes, so therefore you need to be corrected. And also, a lot of times there's that the teacher needs to dispel some kind of obstacles of that disciple. Therefore, he would he would do that through reprimanding the students. But however, if we begin to have doubts or begin to question the intention of the Lama by such reprimand, through his way of reprimanding us, then all will be lost. So, therefore, in addition, so if there's a mistake that we made, then we need to correct that mistake, and that is why the Lama reprimanded us. And if there's, if we got reprimanded for no apparent reason that we don't know, then we need to understand, oh, maybe this is because there's some kind of meaning behind it. It could be that our teacher is trying to dispel the obstacles within us. I myself have some experience on this before, that I was being criticized and reprimanded for no reason, but no apparent reason on the outside. But I know there's some kind of, there's a meaning behind this, how I was being reprimanded. There's a meaning behind it, and there's some kind of wisdom behind it. So therefore, I would